Welcome to the Showcase Your Company podcast, where we uncover tips and tricks to help you take your business to the next level. My name is Daryl Comley-White from Market Magnet Consulting, and I hope you enjoy the podcast and please share it with business owners that are dedicated to growing their businesses. All right, so today we're sitting with Jan from Bark Unlimited. Jan, welcome, and tell us a little bit about your business. How did you get started? What do you do?
Hi Daryl, thank you for having me. We started the business in 1984. In April, I registered it, and we used to grow ferns and sell them off to the pot plant industry.
So you're a retail plant grower for nurseries, is that?
That's correct, yes. We had a retail outlet, but then we also grew plants which we sold wholesale to other companies. And at one stage, one of our very big customers went belly up, and we were almost out of business overnight. And we had to regroup and restructure the business.
So a quick lesson is don't put all your eggs in one basket.
For sure, it's better to have a lot of small customers than to have one big customer, because if the big customer leaves you or something happens to them, then it could be detrimental to your company. And that's almost what happened to us. So we decided to move the business to bigger premises and started growing all sorts of different plants. And because they were grown in bigger containers, we needed more compost and potting soil for these big containers. And at that stage, being a fairly new business, we didn't have a lot of money. And we started manufacturing our own compost purely for our own use. And
is that something you had experience in before, or is it something that you thought, this is just what we need, let's just start, get it going?
Well, not really. Since I can remember from my childhood, my dad always had a compost heap in the backyard, so manufacturing compost wasn't a foreign concept to me. Although, on a commercial scale, you do it a lot different from composting at home. But the basic principles are the same.
All right, so it's not just vegetable scraps anymore. Now we're going big scale.
We're going commercial now. So, we instead of kitchen scraps and a bit of garden waste from your own garden, we now truck in sawdust as a bulking agent from sawmills in the Lowveld, and we also get sawdust and wood shavings from local woodworking companies and so on. And then to activate that, because sawdust on its own is pretty useless, but to activate it, we add different types of manure to it. And we will source chicken litter and horse manure and cow manure from farmers in our local area. And then bring that all to the farm, and we've got a recipe according to which we mix the sawdust and the different manures. And add some water to it, because the moisture content needs to be correct, not too wet, because then you get rotting taking place. And if it's too dry, then the whole composting process stops. So it's vital that the moisture content is right. It all gets mixed up, and we put it into long rows called windrows, and those gets turned on a regular basis. Sometimes up to every second day, and sometimes we would leave them for about a week or up to 10 days before we turn them again. And that all depends again on the temperature that the heap builds up. So ideally we would like to get to about 70 degrees centigrade or 70 degrees Celsius, which will kill off all harmful bacteria which might be in the manure or ends up in the sawdust by chance. And because of the high temperature, should there be any weed seeds, which we normally don't get because we start off with a clean product.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but those weed seeds would come if you're using garden waste that you break up to put into compost.
Yes, Daryl, that's a main source of contamination would be from garden waste. So we avoid using garden waste at all. And like I said, we use sawdust, which comes mainly from sawmills. So the chances of it getting contaminated is very
So
slim.
it's a pure product. You've really got a pure, clean product.
It's a very clean product. It's very pure. Because we start off with a clean raw material, it almost guarantees us that we've got a very pure final end product.
And then, so you're saying the 70 degrees then kills off any other potential seeds that are in there. Is that correct?
If there were to be seeds in, let's say, for instance, the kraal manure, or seeds would blow in by wind, or maybe birds would carry some seeds in, that will all be killed off because of the high temperature. And also if, there are any bad pathogens in some of the materials, they also get destroyed in the high heat. Ideally, we don't want the heat to exceed, say, about 75 degrees, because then you start killing off all the good bacteria as well. So because we turn the compost on a regular basis, it aerates. And that's where the term aerobic compost comes from. It's compost that gets turned on a regular basis, gets into contact with oxygen, and in the turning process, you also get rid of the carbon dioxide, which gets built up by the microorganisms in the heat.
So is that a byproduct? Carbon dioxide is a byproduct of the process.
Carbon dioxide is a byproduct of the composting process. Just like us humans, when we breathe in air, we take out the oxygen for our bodies to survive, and we breathe out carbon dioxide. And the microorganisms in the compost heap are no different from us. They also need to get oxygen, and they also breathe out carbon dioxide. So when you turn the heap, you will see some steam coming off the heap because of the high temperature. And a lot of the steam that you see is, some of it is water vapor, but then the rest is actually a high concentrate of carbon dioxide which comes off. And we need to get rid of that and get new oxygen into the heap for the microorganisms to survive.
So a compost heap is actually a living system. It's an organic living system that then eventually ends up in your garden to keep your garden living.
That's correct, Daryl, yes. There are millions and millions of living organisms in a compost heap, which we can't see with the naked eye. But they're vital to our gardens because they break down all the nutrient value in the compost. And if you were to apply a fertilizer of some sort, and we suggest that if you do, that you use organic fertilizer, and if you can at all, use a certified organic fertilizer. There are some very good products on the market. And you can just go to your local retail nursery, or some chain stores even stock them, and ask for organic fertilizer.
What's the difference between a certified and a non-certified organic fertilizer?
Well, certified organic fertilizers, the companies that manufacture those go through an audit once a year. And then all the input products, they have to declare those, and the company that certifies them makes sure that these products are not contaminated with any chemicals, antibiotics, and growth hormones. So you do get other organic products as well, which are not certified, and they might be good products. It's we're not saying that those are contaminated with any of the bad stuff for you, but if you go for a certified one, you can be pretty sure that you're getting the real deal.
So I suppose it also depends on the need. If it's going to be let's say in my garden where my kids are playing, I would want it to be the cleanest, healthiest possible fertilizer. Is that right?
That's correct, Daryl. The chemicals in some of the chemical fertilizers, for instance, most chemical fertilizers they're using salt as a basis to manufacture their fertilizer. And those salts tend to build up in our soils, and it actually poisons the soil. So by putting in chemical fertilizers in your garden, every year you need to put more chemical fertilizers in to get the same results, and eventually, after 20-25 years of poisoning your soil, you will find that nothing much really wants to grow in your garden. We've been taught incorrectly about gardening and fertilizing a garden in the past, and people were thinking they did the right thing. We're not blaming them for doing the wrong thing. But now that we know how to do it by putting organic matter into your soil and using organic certified fertilizers, I think it's each and every one of us responsibility to start doing the right practices.
So I suppose as we learn more, we know more, science improves, whatever, we can make better choices, better decisions. I mean, that's really what it comes to. Do you sell any fertilizer then that should be used in gardens?
Daryl, yes. Obviously, we sell our compost and our potting soils in all good retail outlets. And it's vital to first condition your soil. And people confuse compost with fertilizer. Compost is not a fertilizer, although it's categorized as a fertilizer group 2. It's not a fertilizer as such, but it's a soil conditioner. So you would add compost to your soil to get the formulation of your soil to a better level. And then you can use an organic fertilizer to enrich your soil. The compost creates space for the microorganisms to live in, and the microorganisms will break down the organic fertilizer and transform it into plant food. The fertilizer itself can't be absorbed by the plant. It needs to be broken down by the microorganisms in order to be available to the plant.
So it's a whole symbiotic system. You don't just use one or the other. You need a combination to make it work properly.
Daryl, yes. And that's where with chemical fertilizers, it's available immediately because it's in a chemical form. It's immediately available to the plant. The danger of that being if you were to overdose with chemical fertilizers in your garden, you'll find that the plants burn and they can even die. Especially after a dry hot spell and you don't get to water your garden in time, you're going to get damage on your plants, which with the organic fertilizers there's no chance of that happening. Even if you apply double the dose of fertilizer, it won't burn your plants because there are no salts present.
So often you see a garden that's died and you think, hey, we just haven't watered enough. But there's far more to it than just watering. From what you're saying, there's a whole chemical balance that needs to be right. There's a whole conditioning of the sand, the soil that needs to be correct for your garden to actually work properly. Does this apply to plants as well as vegetable gardens, as well as farming, as well as any sort of horticulture sort of industry?
Yes, Daryl, I think that's applicable to any kind of plant production, whether it's a pot plant in your office, whether it's your garden, your lawn, a commercial farm, or your veggie patch in the back of the garden. The same principles will apply if you use chemical fertilizers. Like I said, in years to come, you're going to have to use more fertilizer to get the same results. With the organic farming or organic gardening, if you apply some compost on a yearly basis and you use organic fertilizers, you will actually build up the structure of the soil. And you will find that in 5 or 10 years' time from now that you need to do very little to maintain a very nice garden or a very healthy vegetable garden. So by building up the structure of the soil, you're actually saving yourself money in the long run. And also the produce that you would grow in your vegetable garden, for instance, will have a better taste, it will have a much longer shelf life, and it will have a much higher nutritional value.
So all in all, if you start well, it ends well for you.
Well, Daryl, it's what you put in is what you get out. We all know we're all in business. The harder we work or the smarter we work, the more money we make. And with the garden, it's no different. If you give your garden all the right stuff, it will reward you by giving you what you need.
So good output, good quality plants or vegetables. Let's talk about business then. So you supply your products to a variety of retail nurseries around Gauteng. Where can people find your products, and what should they look out for when they get to those nurseries? What should they ask for?
Daryl, most of our products are in the retail nurseries in Pretoria, Johannesburg, and the surrounding areas. And it's also available in the hinterland outlets in 6 provinces of the country. And we also export the vast majority of our product to Namibia. which is a good market for our product because
surely you can't just export anything. You've got to have good quality, good, I suppose, accreditations to get there. What did you need to be able to export the product? I mean, that might just say how good it is for our local market as well.
Daryl, yes. We first started off by getting our product registered at the Department of Agriculture here in South Africa. So that registration gets renewed every 3 years, and we had to comply to some strict measures, and our product had to meet certain requirements with the Department of Agriculture. And then for the export requirements, once a year we get audited by a company, AFRI Compliance, and they will actually come to the farm, spend a whole day with us, and they will look at things like the traceability of the raw materials that we put in. In other words, where does it come from? So we must be able to tell them exactly where we got what products from.
I get that. So if you're saying it's organic, it's good for you, it's healthy, all that sort of stuff, they can actually verify that it actually is. And based on that, you then can export.
That's correct, yes. So they would certify us, for things like good corporate governance, risk management, biosecurity, quality assurance, the traceability, and then obviously the export requirements to the different countries that we export to.
So you've definitely got a good quality, high grade product, without a doubt. If you can fulfill all those requirements, you're A for away.
Well, Daryl, I don't want to boast, but we make the best compost in the country.
I'm glad to hear that. I should hope so. So that's brilliant. Okay, so let's go back to where people can buy and what should they ask for when they're walking into a retail nursery. Hi, I'm here to get. What are they looking for?
All right, so our brand goes under the name Bark Unlimited Organics. And if you walk into a retail nursery or into a co-op, you can just ask one of the people on the floor to take you to the compost section, and you can specifically ask for our product. It's in a very nice full.
Oh, I agree. I've seen your bags. The branding, the product look is far superior to all competitors out there. So good for you. That's a big step, I think. How do you get it to look so good? Why have you made it look that good when others aren't?
Well, Daryl, we've recently rebranded our product, and we've also gone from packing by hand to fully automated packaging. And we had the design of the new bag done in Australia. So it's a bit of a different look from what we used to seeing in South Africa, because our previous brand was very old-fashioned, very outdated, and it was a well-established old brand. But we had to renew it, and we went from our old bags, which had 2-color print, to full color print on the new bags. And it looks amazing, and good packaging, nice packaging just sells the product so much easier.
It also lets people know what they're getting. If you're willing to invest in the look of your brand and the look of your product, then they should believe and they should know that what's inside is worth what is packed in.
Well, we've spent a lot of money on developing the new packaging, and I think it complements the good quality product that we put inside the bag. It's like one of my customers, an elderly gentleman, said to me, it's not the way that you pack it or the packaging, it's what's inside the packaging. But I think, we've got a winning recipe now that we've got, and again, I don't want to boast, but I think we've got the best packaging in the market, and we've got the best product inside the bag.
So best product, best packaging. People buying your products, your customers cannot go wrong. Who buys from you? I mean, I'm sure from the retail market, we know that's the people planting at home. Who else buys from you?
Well, Daryl, yes. We've got the public. We would go to a retail nursery, or we would go to one of the hinterland shops, and they will buy for their home gardens and their vegetable gardens and their pot plants and so on. Then we have wholesale nurseries who would grow plants for the retail nurseries, and they will buy all these products from us in bulk. In other words, loose truckloads up to 60 cubic meters on a truck. and they will plant their plants in our potting soil, for instance, grow them on to become a proper nice plant, and then sell them off to the retail nurseries where the public can then buy those plants. So even if you buy a plant which are planted from a different grower, the chances are good that it's been planted in our potting soil. Then we've also got farmers who would buy a product from us. We sell a lot to the blueberry industry, and also to the fruit industry and so on, other fruits and so on. And also we've sold some to people farmers who grow vegetables, like lettuce, for instance. Our product is very good for growing lettuce in. And again, the quality is a big issue to those farmers, and they only buy the best.
They want their product to be able to sell, and if it doesn't look nutritious and healthy and good, it's not going to work. So again, you start with the end in mind. Plant in the right medium so that your plants turn out right. That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. There's a big tendency in the world that people want healthy food. And you can only have healthy food if you've got healthy soil. And we don't add any chemical fertilizers to our product to aid the composting process. We do it all organic. So, we can, although our product is not certified organic yet, and we will most certainly go the route of having it certified in the future, we can guarantee that it is clean, there is no chemicals added to it. And a lot of the farmers will actually buy this from us and grow their crop in it and have that crop certified organic for export markets. Europe and so on is very pro-organic, and they will rather buy food that's been grown organically. Like I've also said, the shelf life of it is a lot longer. So if you grow, let's say blueberries, for instance, and you do it chemically, compared to someone who would grow it in an organic way, transporting it to a foreign country, exporting it and distributing it there gives you a much bigger window to get your product sold, and it will still stay in a good condition. Obviously, the taste of it is much better, and the nutritional value is much higher. So there are so many benefits, growing your crops organically compared to growing it with chemical fertilizers, that it actually outweighs the price of doing it organically.
It's fascinating. Fascinating. So you spoke about bulk. Now, who orders bulk from you? Obviously, the farmers and those growers might do. Can the public order bulk from you? I mean, if they're going to be doing their whole garden, do they need to buy 300 bags, or could they get a truckload from you as well?
Daryl, no, people can go onto our website at www.barkunlimited.co.za, and they can contact us, and we can give them a quotation. We can also help them to get the right product, and we can deliver to them in bulk anything from 1 cubic meter, like I said, up to 60 cubic meters. We've got different sizes of trucks. So it all depends on what the customer's needs are, and we're more than willing to help them. If they give us the size of the area that they want to put, say, either lawn dressing or compost or what the case might be, or even if they want to mulch, they can just give us the length and the width of the area, and then we can work out exactly how much they need and advise them. We will also give them a professional quotation, and we can deliver to their homes.
So you spoke about mulch now as well. What other products do you do? I mean, you compost and soil treatment is one. What else do you do?
Well, Daryl, yes, the compost is one of our big lines that we do. And then we do different types of potting soil. We do an indoor potting soil, obviously, for indoor pot plants. And then we've got an outdoor potting soil for plants that you would grow outside the house in containers. And we've got specialized growing mediums. For instance, for clivia plants, we've got a special clivia mix. For cycads, we've got a cycad mix. For all your succulents and aloes, we've got our succulent mix. They're all different formulations because those plants have specific requirements. And we do a germination mix for germinating seeds and for rooting cuttings. And then we have a seedling mix for transplanting your young seedlings before you actually put them into the veggie garden. And we've got a lawn dressing for your lawn. It's vital that we put some nutrients back on our lawn. So what we would do is if you live in an area where you do get frost, it's essential to wait until all the frost is gone. You mow your lawn nice and short, and then you put a layer of our lawn dressing on your lawn. If your lawn is fairly level, you can go as thin as, say, 0.5 centimeter. But if you've got an uneven lawn, you can fill up all those dents in the lawn and get it nice and even.
And play a bit of cricket.
Yeah, a bit of cricket or some rugby. We love sunshine and rugby and braai and so on. And it's much easier doing it on a level lawn.
A good garden, level garden, I agree totally.
Yeah.
So what else do you have in the product range that you've got?
Daryl, then we've got different types of mulches. And we're going to start off with our bark mulch, which is mechanically sorted. It's a fairly inexpensive product compared to the other mulches. And mulching you would do in your flower beds to retain the moisture in the soil. We live in a country where we get very little rainfall. And it's vital that we save as much water as possible. And, we all have rainwater harvesting systems at our homes, and we use that water sparingly. But because of the high temperatures, especially in summer, whatever water you put in your garden evaporates in no time. So by putting a layer of mulch in your flower beds, and we suggest that if at all you can go to about 10 centimeters thick, that is an ideal layer of mulch. That will retain the moisture in your soil, but it's also got the added benefit of suppressing weed growth. So, weed seeds blow in with the wind and settles in between your plants in your garden, and then they start germinating there. But when you put a layer of mulch, which is fairly coarse, the weed seeds will fall on the mulch, and it will just dry out. It won't get into contact with the soil and enough moisture to germinate. And even if it does germinate, it's got a very slim chance of surviving and actually growing into a big weed, which in essence saves you a lot of time and effort taking out the weeds in your garden. We've got different other mulches as well. We've got products like peach pips, which will give you a different texture. We've got our bark nuggets, which are available in small and medium. Those are better for using in pots and small areas. And then we've got bark chips, which are all the nice big pieces of bark which grows on the outside of a pine tree. And we specifically use pine bark because it's a clean product and it's freely available. And we get those in 3 different gradings, or 3 different sizes, which is small, which is between 2 and 3 centimeters. Then we've got our medium size, which is between 3 and 5 centimeters. And then we've got our large, which is 5 centimeters and bigger. And those are better suited for using in big flower beds. Now, unfortunately, the bark chips is a very expensive product because it's all hand sorted. And the labor component in sorting it makes it fairly expensive. So if you want to save some money, it's always a good idea to buy some bark mulch, put a nice layer of mulch in the garden, and then buy yourself some bark chips and put that on top. Then you don't need to put down a 10 centimeter layer of bark chips. You can, let's say for argument's sake, put down 8 centimeter layer of bark mulch, and then just put a thin layer like 2 centimeters of bark chips on top of the mulch.
So you get a decorative look at a far less cost.
Yes, that's correct.
Makes sense. Right. And so what else do you have in the mix there?
Daryl, we also sell some decorative sand. We've got a product called river sand or silica sand, which is a 1 millimeter granule of silica sand. which is a good product to use also as a mulch or decorative in between your aloes or in the cacti garden. It also gives you the look and the feel of a desert, you know, where those plants normally would occur. We also have play sand for the children. So if you've got an area where you can put a sand box or some plastic containers, or even build a sand pit for the children to play in. Our sand is washed twice and it's screened. So it's very clean, and it, being silica sand, it won't stain the children's clothes. So even if they play in it with say a white t-shirt on, the t-shirt will remain white. The sand won't stain the clothes. And
it's another indication of the quality that you provide.
Yet again, you know, we've many years back we set 5 strategies in place to grow our company. One of those strategies was to sell quality product only. And it took a couple of years for the effect to take place. But you can now see that people associate our brand with a top quality product. And if the quality of a product is not good enough, it's not good enough to get our name on the bag. So, you know, a lot of people ask me, you know, and I don't want to mention names or product names, but can you get me this product? Can't you bag us that product? And I just refuse flat because I don't believe in the product. You know, those products are not good enough. The quality is not good enough, and some of them are even harmful. And we just won't. We don't do it for the money. You know, we do it for the love of making compost and for bettering the environment we live in. Yeah, so Daryl, so we're here for a greater purpose, and it's not for making money, but for bettering our environment. And you'll see one of our slogans says "Refresh Nature," and we want to create a better environment for ourselves and for our children to live in.
So, talking about creating better environments, they call it healthier. This works in with the look as well. So let's just say if a school or an office park wants to redo their place, how do you help out with that? If they want to redo their gardens, maybe redo their soccer fields, level them out, whatever it might be, how do you get involved? How do you help out with those bigger projects?
Well, Daryl, you know, we're not a landscaping company, so we don't really do the installation or the application of products. But what we can do is we can act in an advisory capacity and help the customer to determine exactly what they need and exactly how much they need. And if they in need of someone to do the application or installation, then we can advise them on a couple of good landscapers that are good customers of ours and uses our product and buys from us on a regular basis.
So from what you're saying, it looks like landscapers who are worth their salt need to actually start using Bark Unlimited products to help them get a better product and an end result for their clients. Is that right?
Daryl, yes. I think a landscaper who uses our product instead of other products will definitely have a nicer garden for their customer at the end of the day. And that will be a good reflection on them. You know, Daryl, by using our product, they can render a better service for their customer and give them a better quality end product.
So it's a no-brainer. Jan, tell us, where can potential customers get hold of you, people who are concerned about their garden, about the health of their garden, about the look and feel of their garden? How can they get hold of you? How can they order from you? What's the process?
Daryl, the best will be for them to go onto our website. The web address is www.parkunlimited.co.za. They can browse through the website. There are some very nice videos on there on how to use our products, and they can get all our contact details on there. Alternatively, they can contact our office at 012 111 0947, and our office staff will be more than willing to help them.
Jan, thank you. It's been an absolute pleasure. It's been an education for me on an industry that is fascinating, one that we see every day. We just don't know how it gets there. Thank you very much, and we wish you all the best.
Thank you for having me, Daryl, and thank you for giving me the opportunity to explain exactly what we're doing and how we can benefit the public.
Thank you for joining us on the Showcase Your Company podcast, where we uncover tips and tricks to help you take your business to the next level. If you want to showcase your business on this podcast, feel free to contact us. Visit www.marketmagnet.co.za and click on the podcast button in the main menu bar. It's free and we would like to showcase your business. Visit www.marketmagnet.co.za and click the podcast button.